Okay, we're going to talk about skeletal cartilages in this video, and the reason why we talk about cartilage in the bone chapter is that cartilage is considered a skeletal tissue, and not just because it supports joints, but because most of your skeleton initially starts out as just cartilage. So embryologically and fetally, it turns out that a lot of bones are cartilage, and then they're eventually turned into bone or replaced by bone. And you find this in most bones of our body, except for areas that require flexibility. An example of this would be your rib cage, where the cartilaginous portion anteriorly of your rib cage remains cartilage even after birth. Now, skeletal cartilage is made of highly resistant molded cartilage tissue that consists primarily of water. You don't find any blood vessels or nerves here, so that it doesn't bleed, nor is it painful. And the way that cartilage gets its nutrient supply then is by surrounding perichondrium. So perichondrium is a layer of dense connective tissue that surrounds cartilage, and it basically helps to resist outward expansion, but it also contains the blood vessels for nutrient delivery to the cartilage itself. Now, cartilage is made of chondrocytes, which are basically the mature cartilage cells that are encased in small cavities called lacuna. And essentially these chondrocytes help to maintain the jelly-like extracellular matrix of cartilage. Now, there are three major types of cartilage. We got hyaline, elastic, and fibrocartilage. We talked about these back in chapter 4 on tissues, but hyaline cartilage is notable because it provides support, flexibility, and resilience. It's also the most abundant type that contains collagen fibers, and you find this in joints, at the ends of bones, your ribs, also the larger airways like your larynx and trachea, and your nasal cartilage is also made of hyaline cartilage. Think of this as strong but flexible. Now, elastic cartilage is similar to hyaline cartilage but contains lots of elastic fibers and therefore has more elastic characteristic to it. Now, you find that elastic cartilage is located in the external ear and the epiglottis. And the epiglottis is essentially a structure that prevents you from inhaling the food that you're swallowing. And by being elastic, it can recoil back to a resting shape. That way you can breathe after swallowing. Now, fibrocartilage is the toughest of these three types, and it's tough because you got thick collagen fibers here that give it a high tensile strength. So you find fibrocartilage in joints that need to resist a lot of compression force and a lot of potentially deforming damage. So you find fibrocartilage in the menisci of your knee, as well as the intervertebral discs along your spine, which makes sense because it can resist that compression force. So this just is a nice summary of the location of cartilage around the body. In blue is all the locations of hyaline. So you can see that hyaline cartilage is at the ends of your long bones, and it serves as a nice protective cushion here. You also find hyaline cartilage in the costal cartilage of your ribs because it's flexible and allows your rib cage to expand. Your nasal cartilage to support your nose, and the cartilage of your airways is also mostly hyaline. Now, fibrocartilage you only find in select areas, like the intervertebral discs along your spine are little rings of fibrocartilage, as well as the pubic symphysis, which connects the two halves of your pelvis together. That's also a little band of fibrocartilage. Now, the function of the pubic symphysis is to allow a little bit of give or wiggle for the hips, so that when you're walking, the hips can actually kind of move against each other along this pubic symphysis. There's also a hormone relaxin that's released during labor that causes the pubic symphysis to soften and allows this cartilage to be more stretchable. That way the two halves of the pelvis can separate and it's easier for the child to go through the birth canal. Now, in green, we have elastic cartilage here, and elastic cartilage is what you find in the external ear. That's why your ears can actually kind of pop back into position. And you also find it in your epiglottis, which helps to prevent you from aspirating or basically inhaling the food that you're swallowing. And it can also pop back into position, which allows you to have adequate airflow after swallowing. Now, in terms of growth of cartilage, there's two major forms. We got appositional growth and interstitial growth. Appositional growth refers to cartilage formation in the perichondrium. That way, new matrix or new cartilage is laid down at the surface of the cartilage, like the newer portions are on the outer edge of that cartilage because it occurs in the perichondrium. So an example of appositional growth in the environment could be like as pearls grow, like pearls, which are essentially layers of minerals that are deposited around a piece of dirt or some kind of imperfection inside of a clamshell. New layers of mineralized pearl material are laid down on the outside, Just like with appositional growth, new layers of matrix are laid down on the outside of that cartilage. Now this differs from interstitial growth, which is still a lot more like tree growth, where new cartilage actually occurs from deep within the cartilage. So that the older cartilage is located more towards the periphery or outer edge of the cartilage, and then the newer material is actually found deep within the cartilage itself, kind of like rings in a tree, where the new tree growth is actually in the very center, and the old tree growth is out towards the edge. Now, calcification of cartilage can occur during normal bone growth and in youth, but can also occur in old age. When cartilage calcifies, it can turn into bone, and as we age, cartilage can also be calcified due to injury or trauma, and we call this hardened cartilage, but it's not the same as bone, because cartilage is avascular, bone is vascular. But cartilage can calcify into something that's like bone, but it's not truly considered bone.